Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at, a topic that is honestly pretty terrifying for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the art of the first impression. Like, it's just so stressful.
It really is, yeah.
So the source material we're working with today is an excerpted transcript from this really popular audio-video show called The Masu and Fizu Show.
Right.
And specifically, we're going to be analyzing this masterclass episode they put together, which is titled, How to Introduce Yourself in English Confidently.
Which is such a great topic. And, our mission for this deep dive is to basically extract the most actionable nuggets of conversational wisdom from Masu and Fizu's lesson.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to decode those hidden underlying rules of casual introductions. Because frankly, we need to explore exactly why the textbook language learning we all went through it so often fails us out in the real world.
Yeah.
And we'll uncover how basically anyone can master the psychology of a successful introduction.
Right. Because whether you are actively learning a second language right now, or, I don't know, maybe you're trying to prep for an upcoming networking event.
Oh, those are the worst.
The absolute worst. Or even if you just want to avoid those incredibly awkward silences at your next neighborhood party. Like, the conversational psychology we are unpacking today is just highly, highly practical for you.
Absolutely.
Just think about that universal feeling, right? When you walk into a crowded room, you realize you have to introduce yourself to a total stranger, and suddenly your brain just hits the delete button on your entire vocabulary.
Oh, man. Yeah, the blank mind.
Yes. Your heart is racing, you know exactly what you want to say in your head, but the moment you actually open your mouth, it is just a complete blank.
It's awful. And that moment of the blank mind is, well, it's a system failure we have literally all experienced.
Ugh, 100%.
Framing this simply as a language lesson actually does a massive disservice to the material, I think, because Masu and Fizu are giving us this incredibly fascinating look into human connection.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right, starting with the immense pressure we place on ourselves during those initial few seconds of meeting someone new.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Masu and Fizu begin their lesson by targeting the very first words out of our mouths. And this incredibly common mistake most of us make.
It's such a common trap, yeah.
It is. They set up this scenario where Fizu imagines walking into a cafe, there's someone sitting alone, they make eye contact, and they smile.
Okay, so the door is open.
Exactly. And Fizu wants to be friendly and strike up a conversation.
Right.
So his initial instinct is to just walk right over and ask, what is your name?
Right.
And I have to admit, I completely understand Fizu's instinct here.
Sure, it seems polite.
Yeah. We're generally taught that asking questions shows interest in the other person. It feels polite to focus on them first.
What's fascinating here is how the social dynamic actually plays out in reality, which is completely contrary to that instinct.
Huh.
Because Masu corrects Fizu immediately in the source material. He explains that asking, what is your name, right out of the gate, it just sounds far too direct.
Almost aggressive, right.
Exactly.
Right.
It comes across as highly formal, almost like an interrogation. Masu specifically compares it to filling out a form at the bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a bank. Oh.
Yeah. Because when you approach a stranger, the interaction is inherently stressful for both of you. By demanding their name first, you are taking all of that social pressure and just dropping it squarely onto their shoulders.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. You are essentially demanding a handshake before you've even bothered to extend your own arm.
That's a great analogy.
You're just standing there with your arms crossed, expecting them to do the work of breaking the ice.
Yeah.
It puts the burden entirely on the stranger, which naturally, makes them defensive.
Exactly. And the solution Masu offers is to flip that dynamic by just offering your name first. You simply say, "Hi, I'm Fidos." Super simple. He compares this action to opening a door. Because by offering your own identity first, you're the one taking the initial social risk.
Right, you're putting yourself out there.
Right. You're offering a small piece of vulnerability. And because human beings are basically reciprocal creatures, offering your name safely prompts the other person to walk through that open door. They naturally reciprocate without feeling like they're being, cross-examined by a detective.
That is so true. And the source material also points out a really interesting quirk about English speakers in these casual greetings.
Oh, their love for short responses.
Yes, their love for incredibly short, easy responses. Once you open that door and give your name and the other person says, "Nice to meet you," you don't have to formulate this complex, grammatically perfect sentence in return.
Thank goodness.
Right, you can just rely on efficiency. Just saying, "You too" is perfectly acceptable.
Saying "you too" is honestly brilliant because it lowers the stakes of the interaction immediately.
Yeah, it does.
It's just 2 syllables. There are no complicated verb conjugations to worry about. It establishes a casual, friendly baseline for the conversation moving forward.
Okay, so we've successfully opened the door. Names have been exchanged. The pleasantries are basically out of the way.
Right. Phase 1 complete.
But this leads us into the emotional drop-off that terrifies people the absolute most. The initial script has run out, and you are suddenly just staring at each other in total silence.
The dreaded awkward
Yeah.
silence.
You say your name, and then you just stop. The brain freezes because there's no obvious next step.
And that's where people panic.
Exactly. But Masu provides a very specific tactic to prevent this, which we can call the name plus one rule.
Name plus one, yeah.
Instead of just dropping your name into the void, you add one simple piece of information to the end of your sentence, like maybe where you are from or what you do for a living. For instance, hi, I'm Fizu, I'm from Bangladesh, or I'm a student.
And he actually illustrates the importance of this with a story about a former student of his named Kenji.
Oh, right, the Kenji story.
Yeah, so Kenji was apparently a very intelligent student, but he had this massive conversational blind spot. Every single time he introduced himself, he would say, "My name is Kenji," and then he would provide absolutely nothing else.
Just silence.
Just waiting in total silence. And Masu points out that starting with, "My name is well, it's grammatically correct, but it sounds incredibly stiff."
Yeah, it does.
It belongs in a textbook or perhaps a highly formal job interview, you know? In casual, everyday situations like a party or a cafe, saying, "I'm Kenji" is much friendlier and sets a far more relaxed tone.
I do want to push back on that a little bit, though.
Oh, okay.
Just because if I walk up to a complete stranger and say, hi, I'm your host, I'm a podcaster, doesn't volunteering that unsolicited information right away risk making me come across as slightly self-centered?
Ah, I see what you mean.
Like it almost feels like I am broadcasting my resume to someone who didn't even ask for it. And furthermore, my name is exactly the phrasing we are all taught in school on day one of language class. We're drilled to speak that way to ensure we are clearly understood.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your pushback highlights a really critical flaw in how language, and honestly communication in general, is traditionally taught.
How so?
For textbooks prioritize grammatical perfection over situational naturalness. Like, "My name is Kenji" is a flawless sentence on a written exam.
Sure.
But a human conversation is not a math test, you know? It's a social dance. The name plus one rule is not about inflating your ego or broadcasting a resume. It's about providing a conversational lifeline to the person you are speaking with.
Ah, a lifeline?
Yeah.
Because it gives them something to actually react to.
Precisely. When Kenji just says, "My name is Kenji," and stops, the other person is forced to mentally scramble to find a new topic just to keep the interaction alive.
Right, which is stressful for them.
Exactly. When you use the name plus one rule and say, "I'm Fizu, I'm from Bangladesh," you are handing the other person raw material. You've given them a hook. Now they can effortlessly grab onto that and respond with something like, "Oh, Bangladesh, I've never been there. What is the food like?"
Right.
You've rescued both of you from the awkward silence just by sharing the cognitive load of the conversation.
Okay, so we've managed to avoid the initial silence by throwing them that lifeline. But a genuine conversation cannot just be a single exchange of facts, obviously.
No, definitely not.
It requires a sustained back and forth momentum. And according to Masu and Fizu's lesson, this is the exact moment where learners experience a severe spike in anxiety.
Oh, for sure.
The other person takes the lifeline and asks a common follow-up question like, where are you from?
No.
Or what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, the person introducing themselves feels like they're being put on trial.
They panic because they feel this immense pressure to deliver a perfectly constructed, fascinating answer, totally forgetting that the goal is simply to keep the interaction moving.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Masu offers a secret weapon to instantly relieve that pressure, and it consists of just 3 words.
Just 3.
How about you? Or, what about you? Think of a conversation like a game of ping pong. If someone hits the ball over the net by asking you a question and you just answer it and stop talking, you have caught the ball.
You're just holding it.
Yeah, you're holding it. The game is completely dead. You have to volley the ball back over the net to keep the momentum going.
The volley is essential. Answering the question is only half the job. Returning the focus to your partner is what creates a true dialogue rather than, an interview.
Yeah, and Masu and Fizu demonstrate this beautifully through a couple of role plays in the source material.
The role plays are great.
They really are. So in the first scenario, Fizu is at a community center language exchange, and he meets a woman named Emma. Emma mentions that she is from Canada and just moved to the area last month.
Okay.
Masu actually pauses the role play right there
Yeah.
to give Fizu a vital piece of coaching. He warns Fizu not to simply reply with, "That's great," because saying, "That's great," is catching the ping pong ball.
Right. It's a dead end.
Exactly. It's a dead end that forces Emma to awkwardly figure out what to say next. Instead, Masu tells him to add a small question to volley it back. He says, "Try. That's great. How do you like it here?"
And that tiny addition changes the entire trajectory of the interaction.
It really does.
In another role play they do, Fizu meets his new neighbor, David. David welcomes Fizu to the building and politely offers to help if he needs anything.
Yes, guy.
Yeah, super nice. Masu coaches Fizu to respond with friendly, validating additions such as, "Thanks, I really appreciate it, and it's nice to have a friendly neighbor."
Right.
And actually, Masu provides a quick, helpful grammar microcorrection during the segment, too. He reminds Fizu to say, "I came here to practice," or to study, rather than using the incorrect phrasing, "I am come here," or "for study." But honestly, the grammar is totally secondary to those validating phrases.
Yeah, those validating quizzes really stick out because they reveal the emotional undercurrent of the whole lesson.
Yeah.
Masu explicitly states that people love it when you show interest in them. The ultimate goal of an introduction is not just some sterile exchange of biographical data,
Oh, not at all.
You aren't just downloading your background into a stranger's brain.
Right.
You're trying to make the other person feel valued.
Exactly. Because when you look someone in the eye and say, "Thanks, I really appreciate it," you are actively validating their kindness. You are signaling that you recognize their effort, which instantly makes them feel good about the interaction and, by extension, feel good about you.
It's so true. But, okay, knowing all of this theory is wonderful, but it brings us to the actual physical toll of an introduction.
The scary part.
The physical symptoms.
Mm.
You know you need to open the door first. You know you need to use the name plus one rule to offer a lifeline. You know you need to hit the ping pong ball back to keep the momentum. But how do you actually execute all these steps when your mouth is completely dry, your hands are literally shaking, and your mind is just desperately trying to flee the room?
It's so hard. The gap between knowing the script and delivering it under that kind of pressure is immense. But Masu addresses this directly with 3 very actionable tips focused on the psychology of confidence.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, he highly recommends practicing in front of a mirror. You literally stand there, deliver your introduction out loud, and observe your own face. He tells his students to check their expression, like, "Are you smiling? Do you actually look confident?"
So what does this all mean? The mirror tip is fascinating to me because there is almost always a massive disconnect between our internal anxiety and our external appearance.
Oh, absolutely.
You might feel like you are visibly trembling and completely falling apart on the inside,
Right.
but when you actually look in the mirror, you realize you just look like a normal, everyday person saying hello.
Yeah, you look fine.
Right. Seeing physical proof that your face isn't betraying your panic can be incredibly grounding.
It really can. And his second tip is just as practical. He says, prepare a short 2 to 3 sentence introduction in advance, long before you ever leave your house.
Preload the script.
Exactly. Having a baseline script preloaded in your mind prevents the system failure of the blank mind we talked about earlier.
Because it's already there.
Right. But it's his third tip that honestly serves as the foundation for the entire masterclass. Smile and make eye contact. He emphasizes that people will be infinitely more patient with any mistakes you make if you are just radiating warmth.
And Masu constantly repeats this core philosophy throughout the entire lesson. He says, communication is about connection, not perfection.
This raises an important question for all of us, really. Why do we demand such absolute, unyielding perfection from ourselves when we communicate?
That's a great question.
Right. Whether we're speaking a new language we just started learning or the native tongue we've spoken our entire lives, we hold ourselves to this impossible standard where stumbling over a single word feels like a catastrophic failure.
It feels like the end of the world in the moment.
It does. But Masood is basically giving you permission to let that standard go. A warm smile and genuine eye contact act as a powerful form of social currency.
Yeah, they do.
They buy you the grace to make a grammatical error, to use the wrong verb tense, or even just to lose your train of thought. If you are focused on connecting rather than performing, the other person genuinely will not care if your sentence structure was slightly off.
It is incredibly relieving to hear the pressure taken off like that. I mean, Masu even closes out the lesson by urging the audience not to overwhelm themselves.
Start small.
Yes, start small. He tells them not to try and memorize 100 different conversational phrases today. They're just 3 phrases to practice. As he puts it, practice makes progress.
It's a wonderfully pragmatic approach. You don't have to master the entire English language or the entire art of networking in one afternoon. You only need to master the next 10 seconds of the conversation right in front of you.
Yeah, so let's take a step back and look at the journey Masu and Fizu took us on, because these actionable nuggets really do completely reframe how we interact.
They really do.
We started by learning to avoid the bank form interrogation. We now know never to demand a stranger's name before offering our own vulnerability and opening that door first.
Right.
Then we explored the name plus one rule, which helps us escape the robotic stiffness of textbook greetings and provides our conversational partner with a much-needed lifeline.
The hook.
The hook, exactly. Then we examine the ping-pong game of momentum, using a simple, "How about you?" to share the cognitive load and show genuine interest in the other person. And finally, we grounded ourselves in the reality that a warm smile and eye contact will always be more valuable than perfect grammar.
And what is most important to remember here is that these are not just survival tactics for someone learning English as a second language.
No, definitely not.
These are universal tools of human psychology. You can use these exact same principles tomorrow at a neighborhood mixer, in a corporate boardroom, or just waiting in line at the grocery store while speaking the language you have spoken your entire life.
Which brings us to a really fascinating final thought for you to chew on long after this deep dive is over.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time analyzing how formal textbook learning trains people to speak in very stiff, unnatural, robotic ways when they're acquiring a new language. But it really makes you wonder about your own daily habits. How much of your interaction in your native language is currently running on outdated, invisible autopilot scripts?
Wow.
Think about how many times today you automatically said, "I'm good, how are you?" without even thinking about it, just mindlessly running the script because it was safe.
We all do it.
We all do it.
Oh.
So what might happen tomorrow if you consciously decide to break your own conversational mold? What if you tried a completely new way of introducing yourself, bypassing the safe autopilot script just to see how the world reacts to you?
It is a brilliant challenge. Break the script and see what happens. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you take these insights, ditch the fear of that terrifying blank mind, and step into your very next introduction with a little less pressure and a lot more warmth. Catch you next time.